Thanks for joining us, Nick. I thought it'd be good if we could sort of catch up on how the Trust have been dealing with the situation we're in. I thought to start off with as well, I'd ask you a bit about your Exeter City journey. So how did you get to where you are today?
Well, I've obviously made some mistakes along the way. I guess my journey is pretty typical of most people. My dad took me to my first game. I think it was in 1969. It was against Port Vale. We lost 2-1. And it kind of defined my relationship with my dad in a way, because it got to the point where I was taking him to games to the point that he couldn't go anymore. His last game was against Lee RMI. I think we won 5-0 or 5-1. So it's my Exeter City journey is spotted with all those memories with my dad, which is fantastic. You know, it really gave. It was an anchor to our relationship, which was good. Unfortunately, none of my children are into football, so I'm not sure who's going to take me when I become older than I am now.
You got to experience the 89-90 promotion season as well, which we've been reminiscing about a lot recently. I guess that's brought back some good memories.
Yeah, they were just wonderful times. Wonderful times. There's a lot of years either side of that where that haven't been quite so exciting, but that was a particularly good. And the FA Cup went with Leicester and Newcastle and the game at White Hart Lane always sticks on my mind as well as within those cherished memories.
So how did you get involved in the Trust in the first place?
I was negotiating my retirement. I was fed up with working in London. I'd arranged to retire, and it was actually on an Easter Monday. I was saying to Val, my wife, what do you think I should do? And at the time, the Trust were looking for a secretary, and I just had a Trust newsletter saying, if you're interested, apply, which I did. I think I was secretary for 4 years, and then became a trustee, and very privileged to be chair. It's a lot. I don't know how many years that is. It's probably 7 or 8 years, but lots happened in that time. It's really amazing.
And in that time, you didn't expect us to get into a situation like we're currently in now. Well, no one would have predicted that.
No, I think we pride ourselves. We almost have a forensic attitude towards creating budgets and analysing accounts, and sometimes you might think you're overdoing it, but never in a million years. I wonder if we should budget for a breakdown in the season. It's not happening, is it? It's really, really odd.
There's been a lot of work going on behind the scenes. I know you guys have all been communicating through Zoom, like everyone is at the moment, and making sure the show must go on. What kind of things have been happening in the background?
I think. I guess you'll probably ask me something about finance later on. So that's been the core of what we've been doing. There's a whole plethora of rumours and newspaper reports that come out, and some we take more seriously than others. And so we've been meeting, both boards, the club board and the trust board, have been meeting more regularly than we would have done to try and sort out how we're going to react to the various scenarios that are coming up, both in terms of financially, but also logistically. What can we do to prepare for? But it's really difficult at the moment because you just don't know what you're trying to prepare for. There's no dates that you can anchor in on. But that's keeping people informed is what we're mostly doing, and you don't ignore that report. But actually, this one's got some credibility to it, and trying to keep people. I get about 2 emails from the EFL every day, updates. Information is coming at you fast and furious, and it's picking out the bits that are important and the bits that actually you're just wasting paper.
You mentioned finance there as well. Obviously, the current crisis has caused a lot of headaches for clubs of all levels, especially at ours. What does our current financial situation look like?
So to put that in context, the trust and club some while ago, I think a couple of years, 2 or 3 years ago, agreed a strategic aim that we would always keep 3 months working capital in the bank. So essentially, we could ride any storm for 3 months without worrying too much about how much cash we've got. And last autumn, in actual fact, we were looking at an extended cash flow. We do cash flows for the month, for the year, and then we have a look at the 3 to 5 year forecast. And we found some significant blips in a couple of years' time. So we set up a group, which we've called the options group, which is essentially to look at the different options we might have to mitigate at any point where that cash reserve might become compromised. So you can think of the reserve as a red line. We don't want to go below that red line. So we were already looking at how we can do business differently, or how we can do business more efficiently to mitigate what might happen in a couple of years. And what's actually that process has now had to be accelerated, because we're looking at months now rather than years. Obviously, we've been helped by the government schemes, by the furloughing. EFL have advanced us monies on next year's solidarity payment. People have deferred wages and stuff like that. So it all helps to buy us time. We mustn't lose sight of the fact that we have to pay those deferrals. We've not been gifted that. We have to pay it back at some point. So really, all that's happened is that we've had to accelerate the work that we were doing anyway. We're keeping a close eye on that red line of 3 months working capital. It was interesting. You said that this is especially difficult for us. We actually started this in a much stronger position than most clubs because of the way, the cautious way we apply finance and the way that we govern it. We had an amount of money in the bank that meant we didn't have to start panicking, and it gives you that time to think really carefully about the financing. But it would be stupid of me to say that it's not problematic, because we've had X number of games where we would have got decent revenue. Our gates were up, our revenues were up because of that. And now potentially we're going to lose that revenue. Well, we will lose it. Even if we finish the season, there won't be in front of paying customers. So, I can't say that it's not difficult, but it's difficult, not terminal.
It goes,
but we don't know when that ends, of course. So each week it gets worse.
It goes to show the strength of what the trust has brought to the club over the last 20 years. I mean, we were due to be celebrating that at the game, which was. Called off, but I think it just shows, that's planning that's in place that our clubs wouldn't have.
Yeah, I think from time to time I have a conversation with people where that goes something along the lines of, is Exeter City successful because we're trust owned, or in spite of it? And I think what the trust has done is it's allowed the club to have an ethos within which to operate. That means it's okay to be cautious, and it's okay to be prudent. You don't have to throw everything at winning the league, or winning the next game. You can plan over a much longer period of time. I think that's what supporter ownership has given us, that sense of prudence and calmness, and this is the right environment we can operate in. Let's make it right for Exeter City and not worry too much about what everybody else is doing.
With the prospect that next season could potentially start behind closed doors, I guess that brings with it its own problems. Is that something that's also being looked at the moment in terms of forward planning?
It is, in so much that there's been a bizarre scenario that we actually lose less money if we're not playing games than if we are playing games, because if you haven't got the customers coming in, there's still the cost of staging the game. We have no idea, and it's something that I know the EFL are struggling with, is how do you keep the players safe? How do you make sure they're safe to play in the first place? If you think of a game of football, it's everything that the government are telling you not to do. So it's trying to get our heads around how you stage a game, how you offer it up to the supporters. Again, I know the EFL are looking at the iFollow options and can we make that more widely available. But before you can do any of that, really, you need to have a start date because you need to know how long you've got to prepare. But yeah, there are a myriad of conversations going on around that, but very difficult until you've got a date to start planning too.
The senior management and a lot of the players have agreed to take a wage deferral as well. How pleased were the trust with the way that they've reacted to the situation?
Yeah, it was brilliant, but so typical of Exeter City, I think, and it's quite wrong to single out individual departments or people. I know the office that you work in, Scott, have their attitude towards this has been fantastic, you know, and it just says so much about the club, not just about the players, not just about the coaches or the management team, just everybody who's getting involved, and I think. I hope part of what supporter ownership gives you is that sense of belonging. I don't know whether you personally feel it, but it does give you that sense of belonging, and you want to help the club, and so the attitude that I've most come up against is what can we do to help, not well, it's tough. I've got my own concerns. It's what can we do to help? And on that, I spent a good amount of time last night writing thank you notes to supporters who have donated money to the club during this time. And I found myself writing to a couple of employees, people who we're paying, who then give us their money back to help support the club. So it's marvelous. It really does make you appreciate the kind of club that we are.
In terms of support, City Community Trust themselves have been doing a lot of tremendous work in and around the city. Just highlights the importance of the community aspect of the club, doesn't it?
It does. The trust have been doing a bit of work actually. We kind of strategic work, and we've been trying to identify what does it actually mean to be a family club. What does it mean to be a community club? Because I guess if you went to any football team in the country, they would all claim to be both of those things. The extent, I think, what we do here at Exeter City, and Julian has to take a huge amount of credit for this, is that we actually prioritise that work. It's not a sideshow to the football. We actually prioritise the fact we want to contribute to the community, and we want to be a family club, and we want people to feel comfortable and safe and belong. That's that word belong, I think, is really important, and CCT demonstrate that, you know, whether they're doing their video training in the new grandstand in the hollow there, or whether they're out and about delivering food parcels. I know they're doing stuff online with Sporting Memories and things like that. It just shows off the club in such a positive, community spirited way. It's fantastic, and it's what we're about. It's our signature, isn't it? I think.
Absolutely. Fans themselves will be probably concerned about the financial future of the club. We've had a lot of members have upped their £2 a month subscription to help, and others have started their own fundraising as well. How pleased have you been with this fan reaction?
I worry quite a lot because the trust frequently have good ideas about raising money, and I must admit I worry about donor fatigue. You know, we can't keep asking people for money. Last year we raised £12,000 for the academy. We're always raising money, large sums of money as well, and now people are finding their own ways of raising money. We're not even having to try that hard, and I don't mean that in the wrong way. There are plans ahead, but it's phenomenal. I know every football team, I'm sure, has supporters who raise money, but we actually, the money that we raise runs the club. That's, it's, and the willingness of people to put their hands in their pockets time and time again. I hope that they feel that they are contributing to something that is really, really worthwhile to them and to the community. I'm sure they must be. It's phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
Of course, for people sitting at home watching this that aren't currently trust members, but love Exeter City, now is probably a better time than ever to sign up, isn't it?
Yeah, our membership is growing, but it grows in very small steps, and it's important that we grow our membership because of the future. Who's going to run the trust in the future? Who are going to be the people who maintain the good stuff that we've created? I've never quite understood why people wouldn't join the trust. It's £2 a month. It's the same today as it was back in 2003 when we kicked off. But interestingly, although it's only £2 a month, the average donation per month is around £4.50. So people must feel they're getting some real value and some real sense of that they're doing something worthwhile. And so why wouldn't you join the trust now? Definitely is a good time, because we do need additional revenue. But we just like people who support Exeter City or support the community to become a part of it, because the more people there are, the more we can do.
Absolutely. There's been, as we were saying, loads of speculation in the media, a lot unhelpful, about the possibility of League One and League Two not being finished this season. How surprised are you by the speculation, considering from the output the EFL were, quite stringent about the fact that they wanted to complete the season?
Not that surprised, if I'm completely honest. I think within the EFL, I know they've got a lot of critics, but they have an incredibly difficult job to do, because they're trying to manage a competition with 72 or 71 clubs at the moment. That starts with Leeds United, who clearly feel they should be in the Premier League, right down to ourselves and Plymouth and Macclesfield. So how you cut a line that suits everybody is almost impossible. And I think you would want to finish the season, because actually that's the least controversial thing to do. The reality, I think, and I don't have any insider knowledge on this, but when you look at the problems of finishing the season, the cost of finishing the season, cost of testing, the potential danger that you're putting people in, you could argue that the sensible thing to do would be to finish the season now. So I don't have any insider knowledge on that, but it wouldn't surprise me. It seems a common sense thing to do, just as much as the EFL being desperate to finish the season, and ourselves desperate to finish the season, because we're fourth, we're not third, and that matters. So we should want to finish the season, but we should want to finish it safely.
Absolutely, and it's tough as well, because obviously there's a minimum of 27 points still to play for, so anything could happen. I mean, if the season was ended on as it stands kind of basis, it would be tough on those games that have gone before for clubs to miss out or be promoted.
Yeah, and what we've discussed that briefly. We discussed it more in the last sort of week or so. As clearly as time goes on, the season has to finish by the end of July because of player contracts. We can extend it by that month. Most contracts, I think, all contracts expire end of June, and then you've got that spare month at the end where you could keep the squad together. But it's the thing that we've discussed more than anything, I guess, and the consensus is that whatever happens, as long as it's fair, as long as it's fair, that's what you hope for. But what's fair for Leeds United, and West Brom, and what's fair for Macclesfield and Stevenage, and what's fair for us and Plymouth Argyle, completely different things, and that's where the dilemma is, I think.
And also, in some respects, there are more important things than football right now, aren't there?
Very much so. Very much so. And that's what we're about. That's what we were saying earlier, that we put a real focus on the more important things without ever neglecting the football.
I believe there's an EFL meeting this week. Is it? Are you able to tell us how the club or trust's current position is? You know, should there be a vote or anything, or if they're asked your opinion?
So the way that we don't know, we know there's a meeting. We don't. I know it's been reported that there's going to be votes. We don't know that there's going to be a vote. There isn't a right or a wrong way to vote in this. I don't think. The line I think we should take as a supporter-owned club is that we would vote for whatever seemed fair, and what was in the greater good for football. If that's not too highfalutin, I think we should protect our game and the integrity of the league. It's a little bit. I don't think football has covered itself in glory over the last few weeks, and so let's do what people would look at as being fair and sensible.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the way that we would choose to vote. If I took a straw poll, I think probably people might say let's end the season because it's probably going to end anyway. In terms of who gets promoted and relegated, I think we would just say what's fair, what seems fair.
Finally, how worried are you for the wider world of English football in this situation? Do you think that there should be help given from, say, the Premier League and above to people in a harder situation?
The thing. So broadly, yes, is the answer. The thing that worries me is that what I wouldn't want to see. We manage our club really well, and the board of directors do a great job. We're very sensible. We're very cautious. We don't take unnecessary chances. And other clubs seem to do that. So what I would hate to see is that other clubs being rescued at the expense of clubs like Exeter, who we still need help. So again, it comes back to that fairness. However people choose to help everybody, not just the one or two. The Premier League for sure. You could do a whole lot more. I think the PFA could do more to help, and I hope that they're sat in their offices now considering that, and I know that they're a part of the debate with the EFL. So I hope that they're going to look and think we really need clubs like Exeter, who produce players like Ollie Watkins and Ethan Ampadu and Matt Grimes. Hope they look at that positively. But I always have my doubts about whether people do make sensible decisions and whether they're not just driven by their own personal sense of success.
I'm guessing if any supporters do have any concerns or want to find out anything, then they can get in touch with the trust as well as usual.
Yeah, just very. I think my own email address is widely known, so they can write to me directly, or they can write to the address on the website, and we will. If you send us an email, we will answer it. I can guarantee that. It's hard to keep track of everything that goes on in social media, and I'm not always certain that you should get too involved in those debates, but certainly if people come straight through to us, and every newsletter that I send out, I always say, if you've got any questions, get in touch and we will respond.
One other thing I guess I should have mentioned is obviously the club made the decision to put season tickets on sale for the 2021 season. I think about 400 fans have signed up for that as well, which is, really impressive considering no one really knows where we're at with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, again, it shows the commitment to the club, and I've had a number of people write saying, if the directors give up their money, we'll buy a season ticket, and I don't see anything unfair in that, and they've done that, and people bought season tickets because of that, but it helps, it all helps, that we're all in this together, and the solution is with all of us. I suspect, and I don't know, but I think there will probably be a trust initiative, and it's certainly being talked about, whereby we might ask people who would be entitled to a refund on last season's. Really sorry. Is Julian interrupting my interview?
There's a change.
I'll get back to him. Yeah. We might be saying to, well, we will be saying to people, if it's within your gift, maybe you would consider not claiming a refund back on the 2019-20 season, because that would help incredibly. We've budgeted for it. You know, there's no problem with people who do want to do that, but it would be a huge help if that way we would still have some revenue from those games that we've missed, and that would be a tremendous boost. And I think there are a couple of people working on how you would go about doing that.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully we'll have some news this week that will sort of help towards future planning and things as well.
Hope so. The worst thing of all of this is not knowing. It's not knowing when we can play football again. It's not knowing when we can let people in the grounds again. And once you've got those two dates, you can anchor in, and you've got something to look forward to, haven't you? And until then, it's kind of we're picking straws and hoping that we pick the right one.
Well, thanks for your time, Nick. And
that's a great pleasure.
Hopefully,
thank you, and thank you. Thank you to all the supporters who are helping us so much, because it really does make a difference, and we really are appreciative of it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Nick.
Okay, no worries.